Have you ever just stopped and really wondered what truly drives you? I mean, beyond the paycheck, beyond all the deadlines, what's the thing that actually gets you out of bed in the morning? Fired up and ready to take on the day?
Well, that's the question right at the very heart of Daniel H. Pink's incredible book, Drive. And what's so cool is that Pink doesn't just give us some simple answer. No, he completely shatters our long-held beliefs about motivation. He reveals a way to approach our work and our lives that's just more human, more effective, and honestly, way more fulfilling.
So for generations, we've basically been told that motivation is simple, right? It's just a straightforward transaction, the classic carrot and stick. You do good work, you get a reward. You mess up, you get punished. And look, this whole approach came out of the Industrial Revolution, a time when most work was super repetitive. So back then, it kind of made sense. But as we're about to see, the world has changed a lot, and our whole understanding of motivation really needs to catch up. Yeah, this old model, it runs on what Pink calls if-then logic. If you do this, then you'll get that. Simple. But here's the thing, Pink argues. For any work that needs even a little bit of creativity, critical thinking, or ingenuity, this model isn't just outdated, it's an absolute performance killer. I mean, think about it for a second. Have you ever been on a really complex project, and the pressure of a big bonus actually made you more creative? Or did it just kind of narrow your focus and completely stifle your best ideas? Yeah, probably the second one. And this leads us right to the power of what's called intrinsic motivation. Pink brings up some fascinating research, like this famous study by Harry Harlow. Get this. Monkeys were given these mechanical puzzles, and they solved them for no reward at all. They just did it for the pure satisfaction of figuring it out. The puzzle was the reward. Isn't that a wild thought? That the very act of offering an external reward, like money or a prize, can actually put out the inner fire we have for doing something? Okay, so the danger here is pretty clear. Relying on these external rewards, it often backfires, especially for what Pink calls heuristic tasks, work that doesn't have a simple step-by-step formula. Imagine you're trying to solve a really complex puzzle. Now, what if someone offers you a bunch of cash to finish it fast? You'd probably be tempted to take shortcuts, right? You might miss that big aha moment that leads to the real solution. You end up focusing on the reward, not the process, and boom, you lose the very creativity you needed to succeed in the first place. All right, so if the old carrot and stick model is totally broken, then what's the alternative? What do we do now? Well, Pink offers us a brand new operating system for motivation. It's one that's actually designed for the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century, and he calls it Motivation 3.0. And this new system, it's built on three really powerful but surprisingly simple pillars: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And look, I know what you might be thinking. These aren't just some feel-good corporate buzzwords you see on a poster. No, they are deeply rooted in our fundamental psychology. And as we're about to see, they have the power to literally transform everything. And this isn't just a hunch Pink had. It's all backed by decades of solid research and something called self-determination theory. So, in a nutshell, what this theory says is that we are all born with this deep, innate drive to be the authors of our own lives. We want to be in control. And when our environment, our job, our school, whatever, supports that drive, we don't just perform better, we actually live better. So what exactly are these three pillars that form the foundation of Motivation 3.0? Let's break them down. We're going to take a closer look at each one right now. Okay, first up, autonomy. This is that deep-seated need we all have to be in the driver's seat of our own lives. And just to be clear, this isn't about working all by yourself in isolation. Not at all. It's about having a real, true sense of control and agency over what you do. Pink actually breaks autonomy down into 4 key areas. He calls them the 4 T's. It's control over your task, so what you do, your time, when you do it, your technique, how you do it, and your team, who you do it with. Just imagine a workplace for a second where you have the freedom to choose not just what you work on, but how you approach it and who you work with. That right there, that's the power of autonomy. And it is a total game changer for engagement. All right, the second pillar is mastery. And I want you to think of this like you're climbing a mountain. It's not about just getting to the summit, it's about that deep satisfaction you get from the journey itself. That feeling of getting just a little bit better at something that really matters to you, day in and day out. Pink has this great way of describing mastery. He calls it an asymptote, which is like a curve that gets closer and closer to a line but never actually touches it. And I think that perfectly captures it. The pursuit of excellence, it's a lifelong journey. It's not some final destination you arrive at. It's all about embracing the process of learning and growing without getting totally bogged down by the impossible pressure to be perfect. The real joy is in the getting better. Now, of course, achieving mastery takes grit. It takes a willingness to practice. But the real key is finding that sweet spot, where the challenge is perfectly balanced with your skill level. That's where we enter a state of what's called flow. And you know what I'm talking about, those magical moments where you're so engrossed in what you're doing, the time just melts away. It's in those moments of flow that we do our absolute best work and honestly feel our most alive. And that brings us to our third and final pillar, purpose. Now, if autonomy and mastery are the engine, then purpose is the fuel. This is the big why behind what we do. It's that thing that connects our day-to-day actions to something way bigger and more meaningful than just ourselves. And this is such a powerful idea, and honestly, I think it's a deeply hopeful one. It suggests that we're not just cogs in a machine. We're meaning-seeking creatures, and we are wired to want to make a difference. So when we can finally connect our work to a larger purpose, motivation becomes this renewable resource. It makes us more creative, more resilient, and just deeply fulfilled. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But the big question is, how do we actually put these ideas into practice in the real world? Well, lucky for us, in the final section of Drive, Pink gives us a really practical toolkit. It's for individuals, for leaders, for educators, for anyone who wants to build a more motivating environment. A couple of the standout strategies he talks about are creating Goldilocks tasks. Challenges that aren't too hard, not too easy, but just right to keep you totally engaged. Another one is implementing a ROW, which stands for a results-only work environment. Think about that, a place where the only thing that matters is the output, the results you get, not how many hours you punch on a clock. It's all about designing our work to actually align with what truly drives us. And hey, this isn't just for the office. Just imagine a classroom where students are actually encouraged to pursue their own curiosities. Or think about a home where kids are praised for their effort and their persistence, not just for their grades. That's the power of Motivation 3.0 in action. It's about fostering a real, lifelong love of learning. When you get right down to it, Drive is so much more than just a book about motivation. It's a mirror that reflects the way we all live and work. And when you really look into that mirror, you can't help but start asking yourself some pretty important questions. I mean, have you ever felt that disconnect between what you're truly passionate about and what you're actually paid to do every day? That feeling of being a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. That's the dissonance Pink is talking about. And it's a feeling that is way, way too common in our modern world. And all of this, it leads us to the central question of the entire book. It's a question I really believe we should all be asking ourselves. Are we designing our lives, our workplaces, and our schools in a way that truly honors our humanity? In a world that is so often obsessed with external rewards, with money, with status, Drive is this powerful reminder that the most enduring, the most effective motivation, it comes from within. It really is a call to action. It's a call for us to reclaim our autonomy, to embrace the journey of mastery, and to connect with a deeper sense of purpose. And if we can actually do that, we won't just be more successful, we'll be more fulfilled, and ultimately, we'll be more human.